Welcome, and thanks for listening to this week's episode of
The Milk Production.
The Milk Production.
Take it away, sweetheart.
Welcome to today's episode of The Milk Production. My name is Russ Rakestraw. I am a full-time father, IT salesperson, and occasional amateur chef with dreams of going on to Chopped.
I'm Meaghan Selki. I am your co-host for the day, lactation consultant, mother, reader, bird watcher, walker. Been really into walking. Okay, so I have a little TikTok trend I wanted to play with you, and I'm not even going to do it right, which is why we don't have content on TikTok yet.
It's now time for our segment we call TikTok Trend.
TikTok trend. Yeah, first word that comes to mind when you think of me.
Boobies.
I think we should edit that out.
Okay, let's try it again.
First descriptive word that comes to mind when you think of me.
Smile.
Oh, okay. Is that because I'm smiling right now?
Probably.
Okay. If you could warn yourself of something not to do or something to be aware of before you met me, what would it be?
Let you go hungry.
Let me go hungry.
Yeah, I would warn myself against letting you go hungry.
Against letting me go hungry. Yeah. Don't let her go hungry.
Don't let. It's like the opposite of a gremlin. Feed her whenever you can. After midnight, who cares?
What did any of my friends warn you or tell you about me?
That you were untouchable.
So that's the only bit of advice.
Yeah.
Untouchable, huh?
Many have tried. That was the direct quote. Many have tried.
Okay, so your turn. You have to ask me.
What's the first thing you think of when you think about me?
No.
What's the first word?
This is why we don't do TikTok
Oops,
trends.
no. What's the first word that you would use to describe me?
The first was funny.
Funny.
Funny. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is something you would warn yourself about me?
What is something I would warn myself about you? Let him do the laundry.
Okay. And I don't think that you interacted with my friends.
Mm-mm. I knew none of your friends. I did not know of you before I met you, so I
But
didn't
even
have
after
any.
you met me, you met some of my friends. Did they warn you about anything?
Yeah. Are you sure? He's crazy.
Who said that?
I will not disclose any of that information. You know what you're getting into, don't you?
There you have it.
Do you want to know what we're talking about today, or did you just come to chitty chat with your wifey?
Just came to chitty chat,
Okay.
but I'm sure they want to know.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Tell
what we're
them.
talking about. Today we are talking about, and it doesn't really matter
Marketing.
what the brand is. I know. It really,
Today we're talking about marketing.
I know. It really doesn't matter what the brand is, but we're talking about, we're going to go over how to use a hand pump, when you might want to use it.
Is there going to be a demonstration?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take it out of the box. We're gonna go over the pieces and parts.
But I mean on the...
Oh, on the breast. No,
Yes.
I think I'll save that for another day.
God, we get so many views.
Yeah. But
Sure.
really, we're here for the education.
Yeah.
So you won't find that on our channel. So here it is, the big unboxing
The manual pump.
of the manual pump. Now this is Medela brand. It doesn't have to be this brand. They did not give me any money for this. I am nowhere
No, we're
near
not-
capable of
we're not
making
sponsored,
money.
guys.
But I did just have this lying around. So I will say, I'm gonna do a little harping real quick. You really want to make sure that you've measured your nipple before you use any pump. I prefer, they call them like measuring cards. They're like pink. Mine's pink because it's cool.
Of course it is.
And it has a bunch of holes in it.
Oh, yeah. You can get that for cheap on the Amazon, too.
Yeah.
Right? So
Few-
even if
few
you're like,
dollars.
hey, I only need to use it once.
Yeah.
Oh, now, could you need to use that, like, if swelling or things like
Yes.
that? So you could maybe use it more than once.
You want to measure your nipples twice. You want to measure both nipples.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just measure one and be like, okay, we're good. Now I know the size of the other one.
Because they're sisters, not,
Not
twins.
twins. Very good. You listen.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be an IVCLC yet.
Don't worry, boss, who watches this. I'm not going to quit technology sales.
To become an
I
IBCLC?
know.
Not even as a little, what do they call this, side hustle?
Okay.
I'm going to show you real quick what we're going to assemble. So this is what we're assembling. How do you see? Is that centered? Yeah, it's like centered-ish.
That's
So
good.
that's what we're assembling, okay?
Yes.
This isn't rocket science. It's probably something you could do by yourself, but sometimes you'd like to have someone talk you through it. So this is the connector piece, and if you've put together a regular pump, or if you've just seen a regular pump in use, you notice this is like the junction between the flange up here and the bottle down here. Now, another important thing I want to show you when you're assembling it is when you've washed and left it out to air dry, if there is a little bit of moisture on this face of this or on the face of this, when you're putting these back together, that can negatively impact how strong the suction is. So you want to make sure that this surface of the white rubber piece and this yellow piece right here, the surfaces of them are dry before you put them together. So what I usually do is take the rubber off, put your thumb over that area where the milk comes through, and then twist, but also pull down. So twist and pull down simultaneously, and that gives you your best opportunity of not having a difficult time. But I can't tell you how many times I've used, and this just goes for personal use electric pumps as well, and hospital grade pumps. I've come into a room, someone started to use a pump, and they don't realize that these pieces need to come apart when you're washing it. They absolutely do. Milk comes into the flange down here and goes down into this yellow piece and into the bottle. So all of this touches milk. So just like you wouldn't want milk to stay on a myriad of surfaces, say for example in your car or anywhere else it's spilled, keep everything clean. Put this back on. So now I'll just point out, if you're doing this in the dark, you've got two places it can go. It can't go anywhere else. So if you're doing this in the middle of the night or through blurry tears or something like that,
Through blood, sweat, tears.
any of that hard stuff, just keep trying. You'll get there eventually. But it goes down here. Okay. And
Nice
then
and snug.
nice and snug. Yep. And then, like we've been talking about, you take this little white piece that's
There's a
got
little
that.
knob.
Yeah.
And that
And
knob can only fit in one little hole.
that's right. And you line it up on here. This is hard to do for the camera. Line it up on here. Push that part in and down and make sure it's sitting well. If you see any, like I said, if you see any water, dry it off. So now you've got your connector piece back and set up. Now, let's put the bottle on next. Again, same thing with the bottle. That can't go anywhere else, right? Screw it on the bottom here. Can't seem to get the threads lined up. There we go. And then the flange. Oh, and then, so while we're talking about that, what you measure, add 2 to 4 millimeters. That's the current guidance. The reason why we generally recommend going up 2 to 4 millimeters is because if it's too small, more damage will occur than if it's too big.
I hate a blister on my toe.
Yeah.
Or like my foot.
Yeah.
On the heel.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what a blister on your nipple.
It's not ideal. And you can get it like on the side or at the base of the nipple. Yeah, it's not good. So for the purposes of our demonstration today, we have measured 22 millimeters and are going for the 24 millimeter flange that comes.
What's the risk of going too big? Like you don't get a good seal?
Great question. That can be difficult, but also basically think of it as like your milk ducts lead all the way up to your nipple. And so if you're pulling in so that's behind your areola. So if you're pulling in some of the areola into this bent part of the flange right here, it's almost like you're crimping them, like crimping a water hose. Think
Yeah.
about that, like slower flow. So you may not be able to
you
fully
increase
empty
the
your
pressure,
breast.
but you decrease the flow.
Yes, so you may not be fully emptying your breast. And if you're not fully emptying your breasts in the early days, then you're potentially impacting your long-term supply, but certainly impacting what you're getting out at that time.
I had a German engineer friend who worked at this company called Kaiser Compressors. He tried to convince me that life is all about pressure and flow. Everything in life can be broken down to pressure and flow.
We can certainly say that here. This is another case. Your friend is not wrong in this case. So as you can see, what I did there while we were chatting is just push this in there Okay. And this moves. It intentionally moves this way or that way, depending on your breast shape. One of the nice
How
things.
would you know which way to do it? Just whatever
When
feels
you go to
comfortable.
fit it on your breast, if it feels like there's a big gap somewhere, rotate it in
Rotate a
another
little bit.
direction and see if you can get a snugger fit around your breast.
Okay.
Based on the way your nipples are sitting, or you're sitting, or your breast is sitting, or the size of your breast. There are a lot of things that go into it. So definitely feel free to rotate. The other thing is the way that your hand position is. So if you want to hold it off to the side because here's your rounded belly, then you could adjust this way to better fit your breast. Or if you want to hold it off to this side, then you would adjust it this way. Okay, so I'm going to show here, this right here is a base for the bottle. Yes, the bottle can sit upright on the table. However, that whole crying over spilled milk thing
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that.
is real.
You talk about if you've pumped for, X amount of time,
Yeah.
or just somehow milk goes bad, or
Yeah.
gets left out accidentally, or gets spilled. It's
Or
pretty
doesn't get
tragic
finished in the hour.
to the breastfeeding mom.
Yeah.
That's like it's gold. It's literally
It's
they
all-
call it liquid gold, right?
Yeah,
for
and
a
you
reason.
spend so much time doing it.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was on this podcast or somewhere else, but like I have said and will continue to say, whoever said don't cry over spilled milk is not the person who made the milk.
Correct.
Because there's a totally viable reason if you find yourself
you're
crying over
fair.
spilled milk.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the base. Do you need to use this? Not necessarily, especially if you're taking it off, disassembling the connector piece and pouring the milk into a bag right away. However, it gives you the opportunity to set that in there. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it's standing upright safely. And where you really get into trouble is when you set this here and then somebody comes by and just bumps the table, and this is top heavy and with the handle on it, you just don't know if it's going to tip over. So it's a good idea to use the holder. Now, this part is extra fun. So when you're assembling the handle, same idea here, right? There's only one way this can fit together. So again, if you're fumbling around in the dark or through tears, you'll just flip this piece around. And then what's really important here is around the edge, what I was doing when I was talking to you is making sure that this is completely sealed up around the edge. So you're just pushing like this. So the way that you put this together is the last part that's open that doesn't have anything on it is this little hole there. Smush that in. Make sure it's nice and secure. I will say with a manual pump, this piece is probably the most finicky part. Play around with it, get a feel for it, and then go from there. So the idea here, you can do this and you can do this, right? And I'll show you a couple different things to do with it too. But as you play around with this, you'll notice that, okay, the seal can maybe come unseated a little bit. Go back around and do it and figure out the right level of pressure
That feels good for you.
that gets the flow.
Pressure and flow.
Yeah. Okay, so again, you could do this, you could do this. This setting right here is for what we refer to as the initiation phase. What that is intended to do is to get the milk to come down, to get the milk flowing. And in the early days, when your milk is in and your breasts are engorged and full, and it's like you don't really need this phase, it's okay to skip that. It's okay to just go straight for this one. But sometimes you might need a little bit more gentle. So what this is, it's quicker. And it's not quite as strong of a pull. But again, once the milk gets flowing, the idea is then to go to the bigger one to get more milk out. Now, what's really cool about this Modelo one that I love is that you can turn it this way. Now you might ask yourself, why would I want that? But if you've got this on your breast like this, you might find that this is the easiest way, or that it takes less effort on your forearm to sit there and do this for 10 to 15 minutes.
Now you can't go full 180 or you're hitting the flange.
Now, exactly. Now you can go all the way around,
Yeah.
but just not exactly the opposite. Yeah. Now, that initiation phase, you can turn that down. And if you like this direction better, you can do that down here. And then rotate this baby around and then do the same thing. Whatever works for you. This is one side at a time, obviously. It's a lot of effort to sit there and do this, and you want to watch and monitor how it's going. Is the seal being maintained? All that fun
But in
stuff.
general, it's more effort than on an electric pump anyway.
Exactly. It is more effort than an
Which
electric
brings
pump
us
anyway.
to, why would we use a manual pump over an electric pump?
So, multitude of instances, not the least of which is budget. So, healthcare is changing in terms of supplying pumps. We should be able to get electrical pumps covered by insurance, generally speaking. There are instances where that doesn't happen, or if people
Or you
don't
don't have insurance.
have insurance. But even still, if you don't have insurance because there's a cost struggle associated with that, there are resources like through WIC where you can get pumps and stuff like that. So it's not, it's accessibility is probably the best way to put it, because it's
Okay.
not just confounded by, whether you have insurance or not. So if an electrical pump is not accessible to you, a manual pump is a good option. I think this is something around like $25-$30. A lot of times they'll have these at the hospital, which can be part of your stay. It's just, something that you get while you're there.
We're going to be donating this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can use this. I can continue to use this in practice sterilized.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so it's not going anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You're like, can we please get some of this crap out of the house?
No, what I was thinking was we could offer it to a subscriber. Like,
Oh, if you need a,
if you need a manual pump, send us your address and we can ship you one.
I like that anyway, but let's give him a new one.
Okay, we'll give you a new one. So, if you are in need, or it doesn't matter the reason.
Yeah.
If
you want a manual pump,
if you comment #manual pump,
yeah,
we'll reach out to you and send you one of these if you need it.
yeah, love it. New one.
No explanation necessary.
Yeah. And we'll exchange details over email after that. I like that idea. That's good.
Okay.
So back to when you would use it. So accessibility for electric pumps. I will tell you, sometimes moms don't respond that well to electric pumps in the early days. So I had a coworker who preferred the manual pump in the first few days. That can change drastically once your supply comes in. But when you have colostrum, it's a different viscosity, it's a smaller volume, and so it can feel a little bit different trying to express that milk. This gives moms that control.
More control, yeah.
that
Because the
they
machine's
might be
just going to
looking
keep
for.
going.
Exactly.
It's a very hard you can't stop it or stuff like that. It's just going to
Yeah.
keep going. So this allows you to
Yeah.
maybe you want to do pump, wait a couple seconds, pump,
Yep.
wait a couple seconds. The machine can't really do that.
You'd have to stop it, like with your hand.
But also
every
on the
single time.
go, this is easier, right?
This on the go is really helpful. If you find yourself, even I thought about doing this when I went away for the girls' weekend the other weekend, just to maintain what supply I have left, right? Just in the evenings or the mornings, just doing this real quick. Because sometimes traveling with an electric pump is its own total pain in the butt. And as we do, I would like to do a demonstration of the Willow that I got as well, and a couple other pumps. But as we do more of those, you'll see, based on the simplicity of this one, there are instances where this might work. I was at a training once, postpartum training, with several women, one of them who was lactating, and she was able to sit. She pulled out her purse, took out her manual thing, and sat there and listened to the thing and was just doing her manual pump. Can she do that with an electric pump? Yes. Some don't necessarily have to be plugged out to the wall, but you might be get your whole setup, and maybe if you don't feel comfortable, you got to put a tent over yourself, and it's a lot of additional steps, a lot of volume associated with it, and so this one sometimes can be subtler and easier to do. This and hand expression can be very helpful, again, in those early days. So I don't want to discount hand expression. If you are doing hand expression, we've actually seen, and this is with reference to the interview with Catherine Watson Jenna, she recalls one of the research studies that was published that shows that moms who hand express in the early days have longer rates of breastfeeding. So hand expression can be a really good tool. But I would say it's not the same as hand expression. It's not the same as an electrical pump, but sometimes this is the perfect solution for some moms. So it's good to know how to use this tool. Yesterday, I was working with a mom who was concerned, baby was jaundice, and was concerned that baby wasn't getting enough milk. And she wanted to have the ability to pump, but her pump hadn't arrived yet. And so she got the pump through insurance. It was not a question of accessibility, but it hadn't arrived yet in her home. And so she said, what I may do is go buy a manual pump. It was supposed to arrive 2 days from then or something like that. I may go buy a manual pump until then and use this to express milk and give it to baby if we need to. So lots of, again, Walmart, Target, anywhere, probably CVS, anywhere you can buy baby products. Yeah, very accessible. There's nothing about this brand that's
Rite Aid.
particularly better than other brands. So anyway, so that's the hand pump. Any other questions about it? This bottle, the only thing I don't love is in the early days, if you're putting this bottle on the bottom of it, it can be a little discouraging to see drops.
Yeah, they make smaller with the
They do.
same connector up here.
So anyway, so that's it. That's all I really wanted to go over today. I think it's important for women to have access to like how to use simple things that might make it a little bit easier, even for moments on your breastfeeding journey. And then remember, this is not what you do forever. You don't have to. I mean, you absolutely can if you prefer this, but this can be a really great tool for a short period. And it's good to remember that sometimes you need those.
Or I think the reason that we initially got that was you were at drill
Yeah.
and you forgot a pump. So like it's, you know, you have a pump at home, you're on travel, you totally forgot your pump. You don't want to go spend a bunch of money on a brand new pump.
Yeah.
So you either go to Target and you buy that, or you comment #manual pump and we'll send you one.
Yeah. And it's funny you say I had a pump at home. I had 4 pumps at home at that time. Yeah. So needless to say, we have plenty of pump conversation to explore. I loathe pumping with a deep, dark part of my heart. I vehemently despise it.
You don't despise it for your patients.
No.
It makes sense. You don't personally enjoy pumping.
Exactly.
And I don't know that is an opinion shared by
It's not. So I have moms who are like, I would like to exclusively pump. And I will be the first to support you through that if that is your path, because I do understand if, for example, exclusive pumping is for moms, it might be because they are so anxious about how much baby's getting, and the ability to see exactly what baby is getting quells their anxiety, and they feel great that their baby's getting what they need. And you can actually get around the whole, how do I know what baby's getting? There are lots of ways to know that baby's getting enough at the breast. But the point is,
weighted feed.
yeah, a weighted feed, signs of satiety. So hands going from hungry hands to like loose and relaxed arms, that idea of milk drunk, monitoring the weight over time to make sure they're staying on the right growth curve, pees and poops per day. Once you reach 6 days of life, you want to have at least 6 pees a day. Poops are different, highly variable, but the pee is a real indication of hydration. So you can get all of this data in other ways about whether baby's getting enough. But the reason why I am totally all for moms who decide they would rather pump is because it's sometimes the anxiety is so great that nothing's going to quell that anxiety quite like being able to see the milk, go into the bottle, and give it to baby. Or there's other types of trauma associated with the breast or negative associations or something like that. And whatever is going to make the lactating parent feel like they're doing the best for their child without compromising their mental health is ultimately what we want to do.
Yeah. On that note,
Yeah.
very informative session today. Thank you very much. Thanks for
My
joining us,
pleasure.
folks.
Yeah.
We really look forward to next week, seeing you again next week. Please, this is your show. This isn't our show. This is your show. So provide us feedback. Let us know what you'd like to see, what you would like to see less of, what you'd like to see more of.
Yeah.
If you want to change the camera, if you think we should change the camera angles, whatever you think.
Subscribe, comment. We are on Facebook, Instagram. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, FeedSpot, Castbox. I think that's a new one. Audible,
She's just
Amazon
making up
Music.
names.
Oh, and we have a website that I have failed to mention to this point. We have a website, themilkproduction.com. It's not fancy designs. It's episode, YouTube thing, and then the blog. So for example, if you don't want to or don't have the time to listen to or watch the show, you can just catch the gist of it in the blog there on the website.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, folks.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you.